our flight to San Francisco here at gate D10. We'd also like to invite families traveling with little ones under the age of 2. Welcome aboard. And as a thank you for your service, any active duty members of the military and your family members are welcome to pre-board for our flight to San Francisco.
Okay, let's ask the important question.
What's the important question?
How do you feel about, because we are here, we are talking, because we're here for a job fair, for an overseas job, because our goal for so long has been to go overseas. And it finally might be our first attempt if this doesn't work.
This is just, first attempt.
Yeah, did one interview, but this is like, there's actual positions that we could get, very slim, but there are a few. How do you feel?
I feel excited. I feel like I'm trying to not get too excited.
That's fair.
Because, I'm like, I know that if you get any interviews, any more interviews, because I know you have one on Sunday, but if you get additional ones, especially if you get them from schools that we had just had written off, I'll just be like, So I'm trying really hard to just level my expectations and look at the positives of either or any outcome.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Worst comes to worst, try again next year.
Yeah, I also think it's a good networking thing. I feel like
that's true.
Since I've joined this program, I've become a lot more lax and fun. And I feel like all the positive things that I've learned over the last 10 years of being in retail and kind of having to be friendly to a whole bunch of people.
You're using it.
I think I'm using it, but I'm using it in a way that I feel so productive.
Not just this empty conversation.
Yeah, I'm helping kids make connections that a lot of people have written off, and that
I don't know how to get my, sorry, I don't know how to get my...
Click the long button on the side. Hit the clown mask. Cover it. Did you turn it on? I don't think you turned it on. You gotta turn on the...
Sorry, I swear I was listening. Productive. You feel...
I just feel so good about my classes, especially now that I'm teaching my own content. I think I felt good about this week. Class 1 went so good. And I was
How old are your students again?
They're almost all seniors. There's a few sophomores. Or not sophomores, juniors, excuse me. And class 1, I think last semester ended on a little bit of a muted note. I think kids were happy to be done, but there were some kids that were I had a few kids that really seemed gave a shout out and were hey, I really appreciate what we learned. You made it really easy. So I'm I appreciate that. And so starting off this one, I wanted to start it with high energy, and I accidentally, I think, started it with high energy, but I've kept it rallying, and I love it. We came into this class, and I think it's just me being very on top of stuff. When people were coming into class, I'm hey, let's figure this out. And I'm trying to use names a lot. I think that's how I'm gonna remember them, is just every day be I know you've told me my name. I feel so bad that I don't remember your name. Because there's a handful that I'm I have 2 students that look kind of similar, not super similar, but they are both their styles are very similar, and they sit right next to each other, and their names are very different, and I always mix it up in my head, and I don't want to accidentally call them the wrong name. But I think you know, the second class it ended, like there was a group of girls in the back being like, dude, I love this class. And the two that were saying that were like, dude, I missed the first class. Like, I kind of hate that I missed the first class.
Aww.
So I was like, okay, that's high praise.
Yeah.
So
That must feel good.
it did. And then one kid was wearing a Lewis and Clark sweater. I was like, you got questions? He's like, I do. And so.
How do you feel about us going, the question you asked me, just being in San Francisco?
Doing it.
Doing
I'm
first
excited.
attempt.
I'm excited to socialize and kind of gauge the game. I was kind of joking with my my field supervisor today that when I got into this, my uncle and Greg both prefaced, they're like, it's politics.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, some people are good at politics, some people are bad at politics. My uncle's more straight with me about it. Mm-hmm. He's just like, it's politics. Or like when I tell him stuff, he's like, oh, that sounds like such politics.
Right.
And I was like, teachers are just as catty
Mm-hmm.
as, I don't know, as any job we've been at. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think people lose that. So it was just kind of interesting because it was like, well, you want to, like I was telling him that like, oh, even though I've told my uncle about that Greg is like super checked out and stuff, they're like, they're still buddies.
Right.
And it's one of those things where I got praise because when I told someone that, they were like, oh, Greg was saying that was good politics. And so I was telling her, my field supervisor today, that like, I try to be on his good side because he's honestly a super nice guy. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of one of those ones where he like has his method and doesn't really deviate. So when he's given new material, he's kind of like, he needs people to build systems around it, and then he'll like happily implement it in his class. Mm. But it's kind of like, I think he's just gotten to the point in his career where he's like, I got other crap to worry about. Like, this is kind of a little bit on autopilot type deal. Like, you come in, teach them the same content. Right. Since a lot of his other classes are subjects that that other teachers teach. He's like given material. Mm-hmm. Where when I took over the class, you know, he really told me like, this is only 10th grade. I just am reusing 10th grade material for seniors and juniors. And I was like, you know, I don't care for that. But I think in general, he's a really nice student. It's kind of interesting because there's certain things that I've implemented that he hasn't been in the classroom for. And he's been like, I need to implement that. Mm. And it's kind of funny because one of them, I swear, if he had just gone to the last PD, which is like the freaking teacher training time, where they like they get different teachers to teach like how to do certain things more efficiently and stuff like that. My mentor teacher, Greg, put one on how to do it and did a whole little thing. And I was like, yeah, you should have come. I was like, you want to? I could send you this website. He's like, maybe. He's like, I might just have you just teach it to me. To do it.
Oh, wow.
Because I basically took what he was doing, which was watching just CNN 10 and then having him write in their journals. Mm-hmm. He never collects the damn journals. And I know that because I have students in his other classes that I talk to that are in my AP classes. And they're like, oh yeah, like I haven't done anything in that class. Like normally when I'm in his class, I'm either watching like TikTok or doing homework for other class. Like I'm so happy we don't do anything. Like he always gives us worksheets and like never collects it. And they're like, I'm like, it sounds like a free period, like no matter what it is.
Which like, it depends on what you know, I know you say that he's like semi-checked out. So it's just kind of like, depends on what you want your goals to be. It's good to give your students like a very light, no pressure period, especially if you're like, hey, if you're down deep in language arts, you got some, you know, you got to take care of. You go ahead and do that, and not pressed for it. But it's also cool to have, you know, something where you're like, I want you to connect with this information to where it's like you see it being useful, you hold on to it, not just this passive whatever the heck.
No, I definitely agree. I think one thing that I thought was interesting, and I'm like, this is why I think I'm also happy that my class is hitting on such a high note, is I originally floated this topic to Greg, and Greg was like, I like this idea, I don't think you'll have enough time for it. He's like, I think you need like a whole year to teach this correctly.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't think so. I was like, I think realistically, I think that would be nice, but I think there's a lot more efficient way and a faster pacing that you can achieve with it. And so I think how I have it broken down by each, because I'm essentially what I'm doing is each unit, I think I'm only doing 4 or 5 classes on, which is, okay, where did this start, slash, like, who did it start with? And it normally starts with Europe or the US. So we cover Europe or US, depending on what is the greater kind of talking point. I should go first. Whatever country, I didn't do that first one, I switched, so either Europe or US. And the last one, my anchor is always China. And then I'm going to end with the modern, because China basically went through this starting in the 60s, 50s to now. So a lot of like the subjects you see like crossover right now. And I think some of it you also see crossover in, what was it? In, what is it called? Crossover into the, like, what's currently going on. But, I talked to Tim about it, and Tim was like, I think that's a good idea. He's like, I feel like that would be more of an AP class. He's like, these kids are simple. He's like, they don't want you to push them. Like, they tend to fail most social studies classes. And I originally took that as him being lazy. Being like, no, like, I believe in these kids. And I think I didn't take it as that until I was talking to 2 of the other social studies teachers, who also, well, one teaches 9th grade social studies, and the other one teaches the other AP set up AP classes. So like when I take over AP, I'll be partnering with her a lot. I was telling them about my idea, and they were like, hey, like, I think it's a good idea. But it was kind of on the same vein of like, these kids tend to be the ones that fail social studies, that like really struggle. Like, this tends to be like the easiest social studies class. They're like, that's why like this is not, like, it's not high on like the priority list.
Right.
And that's why there's only one class of it. And I was like, okay, but like, I don't think I've wanted to treat them like that, because that's how I felt like I was. But I'm also like, there's so many of these subjects that I think are so easy to break down, that are these big head focused subjects, that like maybe in a semester you won't truly be able to like pull it apart and like understand the idea, but you can understand this huge ass concept. So it's essentially with them, I think each week, how I have it structured is thinking big, or how I have this semester structured is thinking big and then kind of breaking it down into smaller and smaller bits. And yeah, I hope it goes well, because I think last semester I had almost all kids passing, and then I had one girl who like tried to work with her all semester, and she just wasn't. And like, it was literally like the second to last day, or no, it was finals day, and I was like, hey, like, you should come in and like finish this final, because I was like, right now you're the only one with an N in my class. You're the only one. And I've tried to work. Huh?
I said N meaning like not complete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the grading system is N through 4. So N 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is an A. 3 is like a
BC.
B, C, and then 3 is also, or
2.
2 is a B, 3 is a C, 4 is a D.
Wait, you said 4 was an A.
Excuse me, not 4. Sorry, let me start from N. N is essentially an F. But it's labeled as not complete.
Probably just like this person didn't try. It's not
Yeah.
that they didn't fail because they got it wrong. It's because,
1 is a D. 2 is a C. 3 is a B. 4 is an A. I told her, I was like, hey, like, I've tried to work with everyone, and like, everyone has a passing grade in this class. I was like, you're the only person I haven't worked with. I was like, this is your last chance. I was like, come in during Beaver Lodge. I won't get it till tomorrow. So like, I really hope you do come in during Beaver Lodge and just do it, because like, trust me, it will help your grade.
Right.
But like, I'm not here to fail you. Like, I'm trying to help. I'm just trying to work with you.
Right.
And she was like, okay. And walked out of class. And like, I was just like, in my head, I was like, I'm gonna be surprised if she actually does it. But I showed up and she did it. And I was like, good. So like, I was able to give her like somewhat of a passing, yeah. Because the final was weighted pretty heavy. But it was also because I was like wanting to like try to boost those people's grades up. I was like, because, it was kind of weird though. It boosted people's grades up a lot, but then it didn't sync their grades. And I was like, what? I guess it like kind of confused me on the grading system, but I'm not trying to get to the weeds right now. So, at least in that sense. But, yeah, I think it's going good. I think I'm implementing a lot of stuff from school. That's what I got told today. They were like, all the stuff you're doing is so good. Like, them working in groups and them doing this. And I was like, yes, I would agree. But I was also like, it's not, like, certain groups aren't as chatty as I want. And I think I just need to be, there's certain things that I'm like, I want them to all be engaged. Because it's like, that's what you're supposed to do. But, like, I gotta remember that people being engaged looks differently to different people. So, but it was funny too, because like one thing that one of my colleagues did for class, because we're getting to the point where like we're teaching about stuff, and one of my colleagues the other day, when they were doing like a little teach out in front of us, they were like, okay, the person that goes next was the last person to eat blank. And they'd be like, and I was like, I like that. So I used that today. And I was like, all right. I was like, because we did 2 different group discussions. And I was like, hey, whoever ate ice cream last has to talk first to make it easy. Because I was just like, someone at your table has to share. So like decide that now. And they were all like bickering, like, you do it, no, you do it. And then I said that and they were all like, when did you eat ice cream? When did you eat ice
It would
cream?
have been like, I'm lactose intolerant.
Well, that's what I heard one girl say. She was like,
I don't eat ice cream.
yeah, I can't have ice cream. And this other girl was like, damn
Tragic.
it. She was like, I think I had ice cream last week. I was like chuckling. I was like, that's funny.
No, that's good.
And then, because one group, since we had an assembly today, a few kids had to leave early. So I was going to do another one, but there was only one table group with 2 girls. So I was just like, the other person just has to speak on this. So, but I hope it goes good. While we're here, I want to do some more lesson plans and all that fun jazz. So, yeah.
So tomorrow starts at 8 a.m.?
Yeah, 8 to 9 is check-in, is what it said. Once we're done recording this, we can go over it.
Okay.
Doing another check-in. It doesn't need to be this long. This is probably fucking long as hell.
Yeah.
We're sorry. But, do you want to do an update?
Sure.
Tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make it shorter.
Okay.
Okay. Bam. Cool. Okay. So, it is day one of the conference.
Mm-hmm.
We had we meant to do an update this morning, but that's all good. Feel nervous, had our first interview and got turned down with Mexico City, but they were really interested in it, and they said, please contact us again once I get 2 years of experience, even though I just have 1 year currently. So that was really promising, and they said the big part of it is my experience through technology. So I just need to kind of double down on that with students and stuff like that, which I don't think should necessarily be an issue. It's just kind of how do I integrate that into my curriculum and my content. Yeah, this is just a little check-in to see how I'm feeling. Got 3 interviews and a panel later today, but that is kind of it for today. How are you feeling? What's your takeaways?
I'm used to working remotely, and I've had to be around people feeling like working for a couple hours, and then I realized, oh wow, this is a lot of work. But it's fun, and I'm excited, and I'm hopeful, because Mexico basically said no just because like visa requirements. Like in Mexico, they require you to have 2 years of experience. So I think that if that wasn't a requirement, they would have said yes.
Yeah.
And that gives me a lot of hope. As far as just like, even if we don't get anything this year, I think our future is going to have that in it, which is really like confirming.
Yep. It after all the info that I've learned today, I really wish that I had done my interview with Cyprus
After the fact.
after this,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of info that like I really could have used going into it that would have been really helpful. I think especially with the visa stuff, because I think it's really up in the air, and I don't think, even though that was my first interview, it didn't go as smoothly as it could have. So yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I thought your first interview went really well. Like, I think the answers you gave were great, and she was into it. And I don't know, I think right now our main prospect, as far as like very likely that they'll say yes and give us an offer, I think is Hawaii.
Yeah, I think.
But I'm trying not to like,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily getting too excited. I just only say that because they don't require visa stuff. And I think that like with your credentials and background, they're very interested in wanting to invest in you. And that's just like a stopgap. And then the Mexico City rep, she made a good point where she was just like, well, I mean, you have to start somewhere. So I think a lot of people also have that in their mind. But if there is something where it's like, well, this is just a requirement of the state, of the country, of the whatever, is what it is. And because Hawaii is in the U.S., I'm like, well, if that's not a factor, I think you have a really good shot.
Yeah.
And it just feels nice, even if,
I would agree. And I think from the sounds of it, Hawaii there's a lot of perks. I'd say the only...
Yeah, they said that because we were talking about it, and you were like, oh, the rent is really expensive, and da-da-da-da. But they said that the school is a boarding school, and most, if not all of their staff, he said, live on campus.
Yeah.
So that would be nice for us as far as, like, housing and stuff. That's, not a factor in what we have to, like, look for. It's like, that's where so that's nice.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think there's a lot of benefits. I think the one downside is, I think when you're looking at it, schools look at, okay, well, like, yes, you have the teaching experience, but, like, you haven't taught overseas, so I wonder if later down the road that will be a block. But that's almost something I want to ask some of the people that work for the company that's putting this on, and see what their opinion is. So I think I might go ask them after we finish recording this. But
okay. I mean, your uncle got offered a job, and he hadn't taught overseas. Again,
that's true, but they're also a teaching couple.
Yes. Well, I just really do think, though, you have to start somewhere.
I would
Everything that I've, like, seen from that, I don't think that it's necessarily, like, you both need to teach. It's, like, what do we like? I think their thing is first and foremost, do we like you? And then, oh, what don't you fit? Here are the solutions to that. And when that's solved, here you go. And usually the issues around that is just like experience, time. So it's just like I think a lot in the introductory, the recruiter or the rep was like, you know, they're nervous too. Like they have invested thousands of dollars to have people come out, interview, and if they don't find someone, like that's a big waste. That's a really big loss. Yeah. So as much as like you're interviewing for these positions, they definitely have like as much stake as we have, they have the same amount. So it's not just like this hopeless thing of hopefully we just get it. It's like, you know, as long as you're qualified and you're confident, I think that'll take you a lot.
I think so too. And I think the other thing is too is just asking for feedback and willing to take the feedback. Like I think the first school being like, you know, you should really focus on the technology and all that was really good feedback, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, she said STEM is really up and coming in Latin America, and yeah, I think especially like let's say we don't get anything this year. If you spend this next year, especially doing the things that she said, like, you know, STEAM and integrating technology into the classroom and your peers, and then like let's say we were to reapply somewhere in Latin America, they probably would be all on that because they'd be like, wait, you know that stuff?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. So I think it's just kind of honing my skills and refining it, and then also refreshing myself because I think I have a lot of those capabilities. It's just some of those capabilities I haven't had to use in a while. So
right.
Just kind of refreshing myself. So, all right. Well, that's going to be where it is. I guess last check-in will be tonight after we finish all of it. So.
Sir, if you'd like to smoke, you need to be another 20 feet from the door.
Then wheel me another fucking
Roll me
20.
further, bitch.
Literally. What do you mean?
Okay. Hopefully we're both in frame. I know I need to back up. Okay, so day 2 of the fair. Yesterday our last interview went to 7 p.m. or started at 7 p.m. Summer, how are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling really good. Feeling very confident. Like, I think we went into this kind of hoping that hopefully maybe Kuwait would like us. We weren't excited about going to Kuwait, but we were like, ugh. Like, hopefully someone will be excited about us, but like...
I think Kuwait that or Mexico, but I think Mexico really sold themselves.
They did. I think even Mexico City sold themselves well. I was like kind of on board with that, but I was like, what's it called? Like during their little one-on-one. But because like just the positive feedback, like the Monterey guy, like literally seeking us out and being like, hey, you got any offers? Don't count us out, please. Like that made me feel good. China being like, okay, so superintendent next, that's the next step. Great. Hawaii leaving and the guy going, you'll hear from me again. Yeah. That made me feel really good.
So. Yeah. And then let's see.
And then, yeah, wait, my whole point was by the time we got to Kuwait, I was like, I don't even want it, so it's fine.
Yeah, and he started it with like, hey, just to be frank, like we already floated an offer to someone, and I was like, honestly, it's kind of perfect because I think you were bottom of our barrel for us. So like,
we probably, if you were going to be excited about making an offer for us, we were not going to be excited about accepting it.
Yeah.
It's nice though, the information he gave, how he was like, it's very big community. There's 4 million people, but 3 million of them are like expats. Like that's nice. But it's still hot and no grass.
I'm interested to see because the YouTube channel that I follow of that girl that's on the motorcycle that goes all around, she's going into Kuwait right now. So I'm really interested. Oh. I feel like her perspective is always really nice because she just rides her bike everywhere. So it's like you really get a good perspective of the country. But today we talk with Zimbabwe, and then we talk with the School of Monterey. Excuse me, Monterey.
And we have...
Big emphasis on that from them.
Well, he was a white guy. I think he was I know how to say it.
He was like zhuzhing it up. I honestly kind of enjoyed it.
He was honestly, he was very good.
He's very
was very
charismatic for a
funny.
superintendent. I was like, I've met several superintendents. You are
You're
hands
goofy
down.
as heck. We love it.
Bro,
like,
yeah, dude just oozes charisma. And then we got free time, so hopefully we're gonna go see the Golden Gate. It's foggy because it's San Francisco, so like we'll see if it's anything good. Probably not, but
hey, we'll at least be there and say we did it.
we did it. And then we have an interview with our second interview with Shanghai with someone, the head of humanities.
And he said that he was going to, I'm assuming if that goes well, then that next step, he's going to introduce us to families that are similar to us. So like traveling for teaching overseas, and then also with kids, and just like connecting over like, oh, hey, how's the social aspect? How's the transition been? You know, how long have you been there? Do you like it? And things like that, which is like one of the final steps in being like, cool, please take the offer.
Yeah.
So
I'm also excited to talk with the head of humanities, because I want to be like, hey, like, you know, my focus is in my undergrad in East Asia, so like I'm well aware of like what I should and shouldn't talk about, but like, is it like, how strict is it from your guys' end? Like, is it just something that I should just avoid? Because I can do that, but like, I don't know. So I'm interested about that. And then the long shot, the holy shot, South Korea is our last one. And South Korea is like if we can get that, I think we would be ecstatic.
that's our first choice. If they love us, we already love them, kind of thing. So like, if they love us, that's gonna be like, holy shit, we're going to South Korea. But if they don't love us, we're honestly sitting pretty. I feel pretty confident that we will at least get one offer. So that's.
From the sounds of it, I think
we might get more than one. But you know, I'm trying.
I think if it all goes right, I think China is highly likely. Same with Hawaii. I think Hawaii will be interesting because
it depends on how competitive that is. Because I think that, like, you know,
he was saying he has one other person to interview in that position. So it's like it's us versus that other person. How does we show up? I think formatively, like, we might not have as much experience as being a teacher, but I think the fact that I've worked in tech, I own my own photography business and a gardening nonprofit, and then you do so much stuff communication-wise, and it sounds like that's what they really wanting to push.
I think that's what made me confident about Hawaii, because they were like, oh, you do what? Oh, we could definitely, here's some things that we would maybe have you do. Could you do that? I'm like, easily. And then he asked me like some other stuff. Could you do that? Easily. So it's like he's half planning and so that's cool.
Yeah. So
look at me with qualifications.
Yeah, Zimbabwe, honestly, this morning is going to be not a complete throwaway. I think it's something where I definitely need to bring my A game.
Yes.
Because I think it's, from what I've heard, is that person has been in the game a long time and they hold power. And Zimbabwe is a place I would love to go teach. They require 3 years of experience, but it's one of those things where
once we have those 3 years,
yeah, we can go do that if we want. And then the other thing is since he's been in the community so long, it's like he'll be a good person to be like, if someone's like, hey, I need someone to fill this position, if we can get into like his goodie folder, like whatever they were prefacing during the interview prep stuff, like being in that goodie folder, then he might float our resume to other people. So it's like we just got to keep an open mind and be open about that. I absolutely love too that his backup person that he brought taught at Beaverton, Oregon. I was like,
I think that, and when we were talking, so like context, we were in line, like waiting, because you kind of have to wait to go talk and do your little elevator pitch. And she was kind of coming up to us. She literally was like, I see your eyes wandering, please, give me some stuff, like, you're interested. And then as soon as she grabbed Jay's resume, she was like, Beaverton. And then when we walked over to the table, the first thing she did was, look at all of these things that I love about him. Please consider, because I know you don't like the years, but look, is like literally what she did. So like, that was cool. That felt really good.
And then the other thing too that kind of made me like a little cheeky about it is I was like, kind of in the sense of like, when the dude from Monterey, I'm kind of bummed that he's not going to be here today because I was like,
Yeah.
we've been vibing the most with you, but also you're the superintendent, so like you got to go do other stuff.
Sure, you're busy. Yeah.
Is that what is it? He was mentioning, he was like, yeah, some schools have these qualifications, but he's like, if you really have like some other skills that they really need, he's like, they can work around that. He's like, the issue is he's like, a lot of these people are not the ones who set these quotas
up,
or these
so they have
marks.
to- yeah.
But he's like, for us, an example, like, I'm the superintendent. And
So if anything, he might have already given us, hey, if you like them, they interview well.
yeah. And,
Like-
but that also gives me the same thing with the Zimbabweans. If Zimbabwe didn't find anyone that they truly were like, yes, you.
Right.
It's like, what do you bring to the table? And it's like, you know, they might be willing to give it a little bit of a workaround. But
Yeah.
again, I'm still not.
And then also, like,
Super gung-ho.
the Monterey guy's advice just generally was good advice because he was like, you don't need every door to open. You just need the right door to open.
Yeah.
And he might have been like, and my door is the right door. But, like, I think it was kind of cool.
Behind this door.
It just was like, I don't know. It was very affirming to hear that because it's like, you're absolutely right. We don't need all of these. If anything, if all of them were to give us offers, we would be like, fuck. We might feel a little FOMO for whatever we say no to. So it's like kind of, you know, just affirming in that way.
I think one thing that we've talked about is preferably, you know, you come from the heat, but I've always lived in the cold.
I come from the heat.
I mean, you come from SoCal, so
I
it's
do.
like,
Yes, I'm accustomed. If anything, it's my preference.
yeah, and it's something that I don't think long term. I definitely want to live in a place like that. Like I like having seasons.
Sure.
But I definitely, you know, for 3 years, I could live in some place nice and warm, especially Hawaii, like
Just to
right
say,
by the ocean.
And how simpatico was that? Let me tell you, because what was it in 2020 when I visited Hawaii? I was like, I want to live there, man. I want to live in Hawaii. And then, you know, colonization was a thing. And I was like, oh, well, not was a thing, but, you know, it was very like, hey, there are fires. Stop coming here. And I was like, you're right. I'm not from Hawaii. I no longer aspire to live there. But look at that. Now I have purpose.
I think the other thing is too that will be really nice is I think no matter where we go or where we get options to, all these places are going to look amazing on resumes.
Absolutely. Especially being like, hey, my first year, like student teaching, I got this job, they hired me and I worked here for 2 years and they loved me. And that's how I got my experience. It's kind of like, oh, like,
Yeah.
it didn't take, because there are some people who are talking about how it's like, yeah, it's just not the right fit. So it literally takes like 3-4 years to really find something. And
Yeah. It's funny too, because I was talking to Greg about this and he was like, they got schools in Vietnam. He was like, because his wife's Vietnamese and his wife's an English teacher. And, you know, he's a social studies teacher. So I was like, and honestly, with the experience that they have, I was like,
yeah,
guys,
they would probably be great candidates.
yeah. So,
And it was just like, what do they want?
yeah.
Because I do think that moving overseas is something that's like lifestyle driven. If you're not somebody who is into like diving into new cultures and low key like diving into being uncomfortable, it's not going to work for you. So it's kind of like, you might like the idea of it, but if it's never something where it's just like, no, I like everything the way it is now and I don't want it to change, it's like, overseas might not actually be. It might seem nice because you vacation and you're like, this is nice, but like, would you want to live that life?
Yeah.
I've wanted to live that life for years.
I would definitely agree. I think one school that like last time I went to India, like that's the other thing we gotta figure out is when we're going to India next. But that's not a conversation for this. There are several schools, I looked it up in Mumbai, and I think if in the future that comes across, I think that'd be something fun to do a short contract in Mumbai, just because every time I've gone to visit, it's something where I'm like, the pollution is gnarly, but it's somewhere I'm like, I could see myself like living here for 2-3 years. Like, I think it would be really fun and really like an informative experience. The other thing is too, is like, we would be near family that like, I've always enjoyed hanging out with them and being with them. And like,
Right.
I think being a lot closer to them would be really nice. But anything else you want to add to the video before we jump to,
We're moving. I'm putting it out there now.
and with that, we get no offers.
My bad,
Okay.
G.
When, I don't know when we're going to see you next, so.
Yeah, we keep saying we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it this time, and then we get too excited or tired and hungry. So maybe tomorrow, maybe today, maybe Golden Gate Bridge.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Whatever
we
works.
might do an update of Golden Gate. That's actually a good idea.
There we go.
TBD.
Yeah.
Quick. What's your reactions? We just got offered Ningbo, China, which was not on our radar, not one of our high picks. We're kind of still hoping that another one comes through. But as just a start, oh my God, absolutely exciting. And like, worst comes to worst, we're going to China. So, TBD on the other ones though, because we still got a few in the pocket. So.
But there's still, South Korea is the first interview, so it's kind of like up in the air. But Hawaii was very interested. And they said that they would get back to us by tonight, basically saying, hey, if I have trouble picking between you and another candidate, I'll give you another interview. But like, if not, I'm gonna pick you. That's not what he said, but that was very much giving with how he was talking. And then before we left, he said, because Jay was like, all right, well, if I don't see you again, I hope you guys, have a safe trip back to whatever. And he was like, oh, you'll see me again. So I was like...
Very, very strongly imposed that he liked us, but we don't want to get overly optimistic. So we'll check back in here soon. Hey, what time is it?
5:48.
What are we doing?
Oh, we're leaving.
Fair's over Monday morning. Let's head home.